Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Well, it's been a long time since I've been up here, and it's okay. And I really didn't know if I wanted to do this today because they say you don't crap on the dead. I don't know who is they, and I don't know what philosophy they come up with. Because just like I was truthful about the Koch brothers, just like I was truthful about, well, I haven't did the Herman Cain, but I'm gonna do a video on Herman Cain soon. My job is to tell the truth as I see it. It's two philosophies that I live by. One is a wise man investigate what a fool take for granted. So I'm not just going to listen to what you got to say or what the media got to say or what politics got to say. I'm going to try to investigate this thing out myself. And another one is a man with an experience is never at the feet or the mercy of a person with an argument. You can argue all day, bruh. You can't tell me what I've experienced. Argue all you want. You're just going to burn a lot of energy because it's not going to change my mind. And here's another one of my quotes. To convince a person above their will is of the same opinion still. And obviously during this show, a lot of you people actually think I do this to try to convince you to see things my way. No, I just tell you my experience, my commentary, maybe my philosophy. That's it. You ain't got to buy into it, and I'm not trying to get you to sell into it. Case in point, and let me go ahead and get this out of the way. Give me a moment. Let me pull this up real quick because some people just, they upset with me. Yeah, they upset with me. They upset with me. Like I care. Right here. Went from 10,500 subscribers, but because some people are so pussyfoot and mamby-pamby and they mad that I don't agree with their philosophy, membership subscriptions dropped. Now, why did the subscription drop that much that fast? It's because I had claimed that when it comes to these doctors, no matter how wacko they are or wacko they could be or the wacko beliefs that they have, and we all know somebody and love somebody and who have wacko beliefs, and we all know people who how can I say this? We all know people who got weird beliefs. That don't mean they can't do their job. That don't mean they don't have credibility in the work that they do. So I don't do that. I investigate. So I didn't want to admit to you guys, but I've experienced COVID-19 way in March. I don't know if you guys saw it in my face, how I was looking. My face got smaller. I wasn't feeling 100%. And then I went to the doctor, I went to the hospital. They turned me back. And then I wasn't getting better, so I went to my doctor, and my doctor gave me a prescription. And it's the prescription that you hear on the news that people are getting upset over and things like that. And see, the thing is, my doctor gave it to me before Trump said anything, before the media got a hold of it, before it became politicized. He didn't give me a huge dosage of the stuff. I knew the science behind the medicine because he taught me the science behind the medicine. He told me how zinc is really the real big deal killer. So I used it and it helped me. My pneumonia was subsided within 48 hours. No, actually it was 8 hours. And I started feeling a whole lot better within 48 hours. These are my personal claims. I'm not telling you I'm just telling you what happened to me. And then I was pretty much cleared. And then when I got my second test, I was negative. And it's not a cure. So that doctor lady, I don't dispute that she didn't help somebody with that regimen, but the fact that this is a cure, you can't really say that because you may catch this again. It's just like a cold. There's no cure for the common cold. There's no cure for AIDS. So on that note, since people are freaking out about hydroxychloroquine and zinc and all that kind of stuff, I don't use that. I don't use that. I did that at the first initial stage. What I use now going forward is simple supplements, Curtisin and zinc. That's all I use. I don't use nothing more than that. So, for you people who are getting upset because I don't go with your, that cause you want me to say that it didn't work. It don't work. I can't say that. So you're going to hate me because I can't say that? Really? Really, dude? I can't say that because it worked for me. May not work for you, but it worked for me. And recently I went into the Eastern Medical College of Virginia and a lot of medical schools and that's doing medical studies. And they say, hey, for now, take these. I'm not saying this is a cure, but this is what I take every day. I take Curtisin and zinc twice a week, and I take that elderberry berry. These are vitamins and supplement. Is it a cure? Not saying that. Not saying that at all. But all I can know is these are helping me, and it may can help somebody else. May not help you. So why are you getting mad? Because you probably believe I'm going along with Republican talking points and Republican philosophy. This crap ain't got nothing to do with Republicans. This ain't happened to me way at the beginning of this disease. And that's why I don't talk about it, because I know people politicize it. And then I don't want to have to cut somebody out trying to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about when I know what I'm talking about. Remember what I said? To convince a person above his will is of the same opinion still. I'm not here to convince you. And in this segment about this right here, we're going to talk about John Lewis. I don't know what to say about this guy. I had my problems with him. John Lewis, the civil rights young activist, have done things that most of you don't have the balls to do when it comes to fighting for civil rights. Now watch people subscribe for me just because I said that. Because you might be a Republican, you might be an independent, and you might not like John Lewis. But let me finish. There's John Lewis, the civil rights activist, when he was young. The one that hung around Martin Luther King. But John Lewis, the politician, ain't done jack for black people. And I'm just going to tell you the truth. And you got people, I'm going to get in some good trouble. I'm walking around Juilliard School and Lincoln Center, and they got odes to John Lewis and Black Lives Matter. First of all, I'm not a fan of Black Lives Matter, the organization, and I'm not a fan of John Lewis, the politician. Matter of fact, I've confronted John Lewis, the politician, about his lazy, lackadaisical, no fire, lame, aggressive, non-aggressive approach toward black power and black justice. He became a party. He became a company man. He became a cornerstone of the Democratic Party, the Democratic platform, and whatever Democrats want to initiate in these United States. So John Lewis, the civil rights leader, no problem with him. I appreciate the brother standing, fighting for our rights. I appreciate his work with SNCC. I appreciate his work concerning voting rights. I appreciate all that. But you could do a history of good deeds, and all of a sudden, you do one bad deed, and that's that but. Now, recently, John Lewis was laid to rest. Two things happened with John Lewis. Politics. I was told that his last letter in a major publication, he did not want it to be released until he died, and it basically told us to keep fighting for good or whatever. I'm not even gonna go into that because to me, it's not blown. It's still his message is not on point with the message he should have been pushing the moment he got in Congress, because there's a lot of black people pushed him into office thinking that he was going to push for black equality. Now, let me get back to this. Fighting for civil rights and fighting for equal rights are not the same thing. We've been brought up to think that it's the same thing. Civil rights and equal rights are not the same thing. Equal mean equal. In other words, I'm a foundational black. My lineage roots back to foundational slavery in this country. My ancestors, especially on my granddad's side, came from slave lineage. My family were torn apart, separated, beaten, bruised. A couple of them was shot. I had a family member get shot because he was unable to work, so they take him out like any other, like a mule, and shot him. He ended up hurting himself, and he couldn't get the medication that he needs, so they shot him. Had one of my ancestors dragged down the street, all because he looked at a white man in the eye. So when you talk about civil rights and equal rights, it's not the same, because the people today are pushing for equal rights. We're not pushing for civil rights. I want to ride the bus. I want to, I want a lunch counter and thing. All these things were John Lewis things. I want to sit at the same lunch counter as white people. Segregation. You want to end segregation. I want to go to the same schools. I want to live in the same neighborhood. That's civil rights. Having the same when it is equality. Having. Living and doing is one thing. Having is a different thing. There's a new movement, mainly coming from ADOS, not Black Lives Matter. I'm not a fan. Black Lives Matter is trying to take over what ADOS. I'm tired of seeing these Black Lives Matter shirts. I'm tired of people profiting off Black Lives Matters. And when this movement, this real movement, is a movement of American descendants of slaves. Now, sure, we got all people siding with us on this situation, but with what we need to get done in America, in order for us to reach true equality, especially in equity, because we deserve it. Everybody in America right now can't ask for the same equity that ADOS is asking for. Why? Everybody in this country did not root from foundational slavery. Everybody from this country did not root from the foundations of this country. Now, don't get me wrong. White settlers stole a lot from black people, and stole a lot from the Native Americans. And they conned the scheme to take just about everything they could from them, because that's just how they were. And not that many of them was these old love everybody Christians and I'm coming here to get you born again and all that. No, some of these people were brutal tyrant capitalists, and they came here for one reason: money. They came here to develop land and grow crops so they could bring money back to their original country, or do business in their original country, or eventually do business here. They were staunch capitalists. And what this got to do with John Lewis? Well, watching John Lewis' funeral, I had to hear this guy, this diabolical bigot that black people think Bill Clinton was the first black president. Heck, I don't even think Barack Obama was the first black president after I seen his record. I could tell you this: he may have been the first black president, but he wasn't the first. He wasn't the first black president that has. In other words, he's not the type of person that can identify with majority of black people. Black people who've been in this country way before the Immigration Act, way before the Civil Rights Act. My grandmother, my great-grandmother, my great-great-grandmother. Barack Obama don't have that. He do not come from slave lineage. So for us to think, oh, he gonna have our back and he not have our back, it wasn't a shocker to me, because I realized his daddy was from Kenya, he's from Africa, and his mom from Kansas. She white as snow, he black as night, the dark night. How can he affiliate with what we've been going through all our lives? He may have read about it. He may have studied on it. He even worked as a community organizer, but at the end of the day, he has no ties to foundational blacks in this country. And to be truthful, it's a lot of people in this country, people from Sudan, people from Nigeria, and I love my foreigners that came to this country for the American dream. But they have to work to achieve the American dream. But the American dream never would have been a reality without the American nightmare of the Native American blacks. And when I say Native American blacks, I'm talking about the blacks that came to this country as slaves. This is not their country land-wise, but we claim the right to this country because we were taken from our own, and a lot of us don't even really know what country we're from, and we have to do a lineage. We have to really look into our background to see where we're originally from. A lot of us have a little mixture in us. Like my particular family, I have Native in my family, Native American, and Native Black in my family, because people intermingled, so. And yeah, I know the history of Native Americans. Native Americans, people tell me Native Americans slaves black too. Yeah. It's because Native Americans slaved Native Americans. It was a tribal thing, But then there were some Native Americans that did try to fight for black rights, and some Native American tribes brought black people into their community, not as slaves, but as equals. Now, let me get back to John Lewis. Bill Clinton, Bubba himself. This is what he had to say that really pissed me off. And I might cuss. And I already told the Lord I'm going to cuss. Just don't strike me dead. Don't do it. Well, you love me. I know you ain't going to do me like that anyway. But I'm about to cuss on this one because this is some BS.
And I say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went.
All right, give me a minute. I don't know why this ain't playing.
Say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokely, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
Now, what you say, Bubba? Let's play that.
Say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went a little bit too far towards Stokely, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
Somebody want to tell me what the hell Bubba has been smoking? Let me explain something to you about this brother right here.
We must understand clearly when we talk about capitalism, who are
Stokely Carmichael, better known as, I like to call him Mr. Kwame, the godfather of the Black Power movement, who gave birth to the sons of the Black Panther Party. People say Stokely Carmichael was a radical. What's wrong with Bill Clinton? Bill Clinton didn't say anything wrong. He's a radical. Well, I'm a radical. A radical is a person who's willing to give up their life for the cause of something bigger than himself. See, that's why I had a problem with Bernie Sanders talking about we need to start a political revolution. Bro, you never had it in you to start a freaking political revolution. And yeah, that's why a lot of y'all people unsubscribe from me, because I'm telling you the truth. He didn't have what it takes. See, in order to start a revolution, you got to be the figurehead of the revolution, and you got to have an uncompromised position. See, John Lewis decided to run for office and do compromising. Stokely Carmichael saying, no, nah. The rest of my life is going to be for the uplifting and the empowerment of my people. That's one of the reasons why Dr. King chose Carmichael and decided to take his hands off John Lewis. Now, at the beginning, John Lewis was involved with SNCC. John Lewis was the youngest person, as they said, to do the speech on the March on Washington. John Lewis worked with an organization that was proficient at getting people registered to vote. And the problem is, that's one of the things that weakened the civil rights movement. We could have got more civil rights. We could have went over the bridge to equal rights if we didn't get too involved with politics too quick and too easy. Our stance was supposed to always be from the outside working in, not from the inside working out. And that's the problem with the Democratic Party and this so-called political revolution that Bernie Sanders had. You want to work from the inside. You want to get people into office. You want to, vote people into office that's going to work on the inside. And a lot of things will not be done on the inside. You got to apply the political pressure on these fools from the outside to scare the crap out of them in order to get something done. For an example, I hate this, and I hate it with a passion. Black people, especially native blacks, they the one got tired of this. We're the one that's really tired of the brutality of the police. We've been dealing with brutality for over 400 years, but there's too many blacks in this country have yet to deal with brutality because they came here post-Immigration Act. A lot of them came here 5-10 years ago. See, Ilhan Omar is not part of our legacy. Her legacy is in Somalia. She went through hell and high water, and they had to retreat and move to America. We went to hell and high water. There was nowhere for us to retreat. Well, you could have went back to Africa. How do you know I'm from Africa? And what part of Africa am I from? You don't know. Well, the slave trade. You don't know. You don't know how this thing went. Well, history said, well, you better dig into your history because you got to understand his story is actually his, H-I-S, story, S-T-O-R-Y. The story they teach you in school from the Department of Justice. And a lot of it is lies. Oh, Mr. Columbus, one of our great explorers, discovered America. First of all, he didn't discover America. And how you going to discover something that was already, inhabited by people? Everybody know that. And the trip getting there was hell for black people. Man, they was brutalizing those black men and women, raping them, throwing them over water. Some of them decided, you ain't gonna do me like that. Once I can get out of them shackles, I'd rather kill myself before I give you the privilege of killing me. Why did Martin Luther King decide to do away with Stokely Carmichael, Bill Clinton? Do away with John Lewis, and why did he lean with Stokely Carmichael? Since you say in the end, John Lewis won. First of all, this wasn't a will over black people. Black people, we can make our own decisions on who are our true leaders. Not you, not white society, not the government, not the political leaders in this government. None of you people will tell us who our heroes going to be. And I'm here to tell you right now, this generation of blacks, their heroes are people like Stokely Carmichael, people like Fred Hammond, people like Malcolm X. Because you feared us and told us this lie about the dangers of this people, we stayed away. But now, in this new age of technology and super education, we know about these people. And we know you lied on majority of them. Stokely Carmichael, Mr. Kwame, was a hell of a man. See, Dr. King, once the civil rights movement was over with, and once he got too far over into politics and realized politics, even though we got pretty much what we wanted in the civil rights bill, he still realized that Lyndon B. Johnson was a bigot, racist bastard that hated his guts. And the only reason he went along is because Martin Luther King put the heat on him. Oftentimes, I think Lyndon B. Johnson had something to do with, what's his name? Death. Because John F. Kennedy was willing to do some of everything for Dr. King in order to get those blacks on his side. Somebody didn't like that, so all of a sudden he got taken out. Matter of funny, he got taken out in Texas, the home of Lyndon B. Johnson. And here, Lyndon B. Johnson want to take the reins now, and he want to make it hard for Dr. King. And him and Dr. King were not friends, and they couldn't stand each other. But because of outside political pressure, not inside, not party inside, not trying to get people voting in the office, but because of outside political pressure from blacks and whites joining blacks, things got done. But the things that needed to get done couldn't get done because we began to allow other organizations and other, cultures and colors take leadership role in a black-led movement. And that's what's going on with Black Lives Matter. And that's why Black Lives Matter do more harm toward the black community than help. You might get something temporarily, but you rarely never give us the goal line. Get us to the goal line or over the goal line. So why did Dr. King choose Carmichael and decide to get rid of Lewis? Well, I'm going to make it simple. After the Civil Rights Movement, Dr. King's next phase was the Poor People's Campaign. And that's making sure jobs, working with unions, making sure jobs are available to all people, doing whatever they can to get equal rights, get equal pay for the jobs, and they wanted to make sure that people in general get what they need to live a sustainable life. Yet, at the same time, Dr. King realized that, me trying to do all these things for everybody right now, and me learning from my mistakes from the civil rights movement, I feel that I led my people into a burning fire, a house that's burning up. My people. When he said my people, he wasn't talking about all people. I understand everybody want to look at Dr. Martin Luther King and his nonviolence, and we need to be like King. King was for everybody, and he was. But then King made a shift because he realized that his people were still under pressure and still, even though they got some tangibles, it was not enough, because even with the tangibles, they still was holding back from blacks. So Martin Luther King decided that he's going to start another campaign. And that was the March on Washington Phase 2. And the Poor People Campaign was not that March on Washington, though most people think it was. It probably would include a march to Washington, but it wasn't labeled the March on Washington. The March on Washington was for black equality in all areas, including finances. You go back and listen to the NBC interview. I think the guy's name is, I forgot the guy's name. But just Google it, NBC Dr. King. That interview, Dr. King talked about the plight of a black man, that even though we got civil rights, you're still gonna try to get in the middle of us exercising our civil rights because of our color. See, we can't come from another country. Italians, there's times when Italians can stand the Scottish can stand it. You were still the same color, but you didn't like each other because of the country that you came from. But it was easy for you to change your accent and change your look and look like the predominant people that's running this country and smooth on in. That's not the same for black people. And Dr. King mentioned that. Yeah, Italians come here and they come from another country and do well. Heck, Africans come here from another country and do well. What's wrong with the black American? It's our color. See, our color causes prejudice. We can't pretend to be white. We can't pretend to be Latino. We can't pretend. It's part of our DNA. It's our DNA that is being hated. So, Dr. King said the next march is going to have to be a little more bolder. That's why when Malcolm X came back, Malcolm X said, I'm willing to work with Dr. King. I'm willing to work with anybody to advance black empowerment. Now, they call it black power, and they called it black power on purpose because at the time, white power was prevalent with the Ku Klux Klan and things like that. So we want to do something just as aggressive and say black power. And most of the teachings of Kwame and King and a lot of other people is like, we don't want to start no violence. We're not violent starters, but we will protect ourselves. We will stand on the Constitution. We will have the right to bear arms. You got to understand the Black Panther movement politically came out of the heart and mind of the students of Stokely Carmichael and Stokely Carmichael himself. Why did Dr. King side with Carmichael and decide to pull away from John Lewis after the March on Washington for Civil Rights? Because Dr. King wanted to nip this in the bud. He wanted full equal rights for black people. You go back and watch that NBC interview, he talked about how white settlers would be able to get the land in certain parts of Oklahoma. Shout outs to my girl, Elizabeth Warren. That's how your parents, Elizabeth Warren, got that. They thought they were Indians when they really wasn't. A lot of white people claimed to be Indian in order to get land, that $5 Indian, to get land that the government was just giving, so-called giving back to the Native Americans when they were really was giving it back to themselves. And a lot of people profited and made a lot of oil off that land. Blacks couldn't do that. Dr. King was disgusted. How can you do all this for these people that just came to this country? We've been in this country for hundreds of years. Since the foundation, we built this country, blood, sweat, tears, fears, calamity, torture, being brutal toward our families, feeding our babies to alligators, all this stuff, and you can't give us that? You gonna neglect us and bypass us and offer that to anybody but us? That's why Dr. King said, I need Carmichael on my team. That's why Dr. King said, I need Carmichael on team. See, Dr. King, even though he was a Republican, it wasn't about party with him. He was a registered Republican, doesn't mean he was a Republican. You got a lot of people that are Democrats, registered Democrats. They don't hold true to the Democratic philosophy. They're just Democratic voters. They don't like the Democratic platform, yet they're Democrats. So stop using this old King was a Republican. That don't mean nothing. It don't. Parties don't mean anything. Parties kill more movements. Once a party get involved with a movement, you better understand that movement has just started to die. That's why Black Lives Matter ain't chanting as loud as they was a few weeks ago, because they got money from all these outside organizations. It is told that they probably got some money from George Soros, and they're allowing politics to get in, and it just killed the momentum that blacks and whites were pushing on behalf of blacks to get things done. Now, you see in this picture's not all black people. You got some whites, you know, that's siding right along them, walking right along them. See, Dr. King went in the phase of, we coming to get our check. The federal government owe us money, and we're not going to say alibi and just let you not pay up. I cannot watch my people suffer. And the reason they suffered is because you didn't make that right. You didn't make that wrong right. It's time to pay up. Now, another reason why Bill Clinton don't like Stokely Carmichael is because Bill Clinton is a staunch, egotistical bastard of a capitalist. It's get money all day. How in the world your foundation is going to be worth over $250 million, probably $500 million now? How in the world you go out and do a speech and get paid $500,000? And Obama is in that same line too. And just think about how much money John Lewis probably would have got, because he was lockstep with those guys. A staunch capitalist. And the reason he don't like Stokely Carmichael The reason he hates Stokely
We
is
must
this.
understand clearly when we talk about capitalism, who are the capitalists? As if we understand that there are only a few people who own and control the means of production in the society, then we begin to understand that there are a few capitalists. And these capitalists exploit everybody because everybody works for them. Everybody sells their labor to them. It is by selling your labor to a capitalist that he's really able to exploit you. Instead of going through theories, let me give some direct example. Let's say that I'm a capitalist. And let's say that I sell shirts. I sell shirts. I have a shirt factory. Let's say this is my factory. I own it. The machinery. I have a place where I get cotton. Now, I own it. I'm the capitalist. And let's say you are my workers. You are my workers. You don't know me. You never see me. You see my lackeys, maybe my foreman, but you never see me. Now, let's say it costs me 50 cents for cotton for every shirt I make. And let's say it costs me 50 cents for upkeep of my machinery. That's $1. And let's suppose I pay you $1 for every shirt you make. That means it costs me for making the shirt. Now, when I sell the shirt, being a capitalist, and you must know something about capitalism, very important, the sole motivating force in a capitalist society is profit. Profit. That is the sole motivating force. Profit. Get money. Get it. Get it as fast as you can. Get it any way you can, but get it. Just get it. Just get it. And even in the African community, it affects us here in this country because Africans, those of us living in America, those of us born in America, we are imbued with the philosophy of capitalism, and sometimes we don't even recognize it. Thus, you find brothers and sisters even selling dope to their brothers and sisters to make money. Again, because we're imbued with the philosophy of get some money. Ain't nothing wrong to kill for money. Hell, your country is napalming for money. You can certainly kill for some money. All right, just get it. Just get it. It's the overall philosophy. When we talk about revolution, we must talk about changing values. We must talk about changing values, and we must understand these values. To the shirt factory. I've not forgotten. I'm just going to tie it in. I'll tie it in for you. I'll tie it in. You will see, you must look under the shirt factory, too. You must look for spiraling economy. That's very important, spiraling economy. I sell the shirt for $5. I sell the shirt for $5. I don't do anything. You're the one who make the shirt. I'm exploiting your labor. You toil, you sweat, I get the fruit. That's right, I get it. But you grow it, you plant it by the sweat of your brow. I get it. I sell the shirt for $5. I am exploiting your labor. I really am exploiting your labor. I mean, even when you want a shirt, hey, you got to come to my store and buy the shirt for $5. Yeah, I really am exploiting you. Now, you're workers, you're in a factory, so you begin to get social consciousness. Yes, you do. Marx talks about this. Because you're working together, you see the socialized process, the laboring process, and you're able to see clearly how you're being exploited. So you get together, and you start talking about, we want more money. You tell my foreman we want more money. So the foreman comes to see me. He says, the workers say they want more money. Later for them. Keep them working, man. So he comes back, no raise. So y'all work, but y'all get a little bit more agitated, because it's scientific. The pressure rises, and as the pressure rises, the consciousness must rise. It's scientific. It can't be stopped. That's why revolution can't be stopped. Then you say, hey, look here, we're going to strike. So the foreman comes back and said, hey, they say they're going to strike. I say, oh, let them strike, man. And sure enough, y'all strike. Yeah, y'all strike on me. Now, when you strike, of course, my machinery stops. I ain't making no money. So after a while, I called my foreman. I said, what do they want? He says, well, they said they want $1.50 more a shirt. They want 50 cents more a shirt. So I said, okay, let them have it. So I'll bring you back. You happy? I pay you $1.50 more. Right, so it now costs me $2.50 to make a shirt. It cost me $2.50 to make a shirt. Before, it cost me $2. I was selling it for $5. But hey, look here. I can't go out there and keep selling it for $5. Hey, how am I going to do that? I'm going to lose profit. And look here. Since the sole motivating force in a capitalist system is profit, ain't no need for me to come and sell it for $5.50. Hey, no. Next time you see that shirt on the market, it's going to cost you $7.50. Right. Right. And that's what's known as the spiraling economy, because profit is what about wages go up into demands of the workers and prices rocket. Wages go up, prices rockets, and it keeps going and going and going until it's got to blow the top. It's scientifically real. That's why Nixon is talking about freezing wages and freezing prices. He's stupid. You got to freeze capitalism, Nixon. Freeze capitalism. That's the problem.
Now, you can go on YouTube and get a bunch of videos from Professor Kwame. See, that's the difference between his brain and John Lewis' brain. Have you heard John Lewis talk about that? Have John Lewis ever been that eloquent in his speech, that passionate in his speech? And have John Lewis ever talked about the economy like that? No, because John Lewis, much as I love what he did in the past, the moment he got to Congress, all he did was kiss capital ass. He became the water boy for capitalism, the water boy for white supremacy. And the water boy for... I'm just thinking about Bill Clinton and him saying that about Stokely Carmichael. Fool, is you crazy? You're the reason why black people suffer. You're the reason why Joe Biden is running for office, and Joe Biden is the reason why black people are suffering too. And the reason why the prison system is so overly populated, and the reason why we have private prison system, and the reason why we have still to this day new Jim Crow laws, the reason why we got police cracking people's heads. It's not just Nixon, it's not just Reagan, it's you. And you got the nerves to sit there and talk that talk. Talking about at the end of the day, John Lewis won. Won what? Because he don't own this generation today. I had a lady on Twitter talking about, oh, you got to watch what you say about Bill Clinton because a lot of black people still love Bill Clinton. A lot of people got a fabricated thought process because of Bill Clinton, because the television told a vision of who Bill Clinton was, that he was a man of the black people, that he was the first black president. And the same thing going on with Barack Obama. My sister and my mama, they all chew me up. And I love them and they love me. We just got a different opinion. I mean, I don't shoot Barack Obama down on everything, but there's a lot of stuff I shoot him down on. And I don't shoot Bill Clinton on everything too, but there's a lot. It's like I don't shoot everything that Trump done. I'm the type of person, I'm fair and balanced, and I look for the fair and balanced. I'm truly fair and balanced. I don't take sides. In order for you to be fair and balanced, you can't take sides. You agree and you compliment. Agree and compliment on whatever you like or not. You disagree and you put them out. Now, not finished with Carmichael. Carmichael, understanding the mind of Stokely Carmichael is the reason why white supremacists don't like him, because white supremacy, the underlying thing concerning white supremacy is capitalism. They hate a socialist government. Let me get to this next clip.
Confused. Socialism hasn't gone anywhere. It has been betrayed, yes. But
now, I don't know why that's not playing, so give me a moment.
I'm confused because at least Judas had the dignity after betraying Christianity to hang himself.
Give me a moment, people.
Gorbachev is still running around Rome picking up pieces of silver. Must be clear here and not confused. I'm a socialist. One other thing I must tell you now. They confuse people about socialism. Brother the other day said, why ain't no socialist? I said, why not, brother? He said, because it's a white thing. I said, oh, really? You see, Europe tries to make believe that everything that comes out of the world comes out of Europe. I told the man, I said, socialism ain't no white thing. He said, yes, it is. He said, Karl Marx discovered it. I told him, Karl Marx never discovered socialism. He cannot. You call the laws of gravity Newton's laws. I'm sure there's a mnemonic device to help you on your quizzes. But you certainly cannot believe that Isaac Newton can found that a body falls at the rate of 32 feet per second squared per second squared. He can't find this. He can't discover it. He cannot invent this. He can only observe it and record it, discover the law. If I'm sitting in Timbuktu in Africa and I've never heard of Sir Isaac Newton and I'm conducting any experiments with gravity, I will come to the same conclusion that he does. A body in motion tends to stay in motion unless stopped by an outside force. He cannot invent this. He can only observe it and record it. Karl Marx did not invent socialism. If I'm sitting in Libya in the deserts and I'm doing any research with capital and labor without ever having heard of Karl Marx, I will come to the same conclusion that he did. That any time capital seeks to dominate labor, there'll be a ruthless, uncompromising struggle on the part of labor until it comes to crush capital and dominate it. This is a fact. My history demonstrates that. We came here as chattel slaves for centuries. We fought and fought and fought until we crushed it. Now we're just slave of the wage, and now we've got to rise up and crush that one. That's to declare that Karl Marx didn't invent socialism. It's there for all to see. Karl Marx's great contribution to the world was in the area of historical materialism and dialectical materialism, something you need to know if you know about socialism. But since you don't know about socialism, you don't even know the words. And not only does the enemy keep you ignorant, you stay ignorant. You won't ever go read a book about socialism. Why read a book about socialism? They already told me in my class it ain't no good. You will not even read a book about socialism. Why, you don't even read a book about your history. We come to inspire you to learn. We come to tell you that when you come to serve a people, you must know as much as you can. The more you know, the better able you are to serve the people.
Now, this is what I'm talking about. That John Lewis ain't got that kind of balls. He ain't got that kind of galls. He would always kiss the behind of capitalism. You understand why Dr. King had to go the route of Professor Kwame? Because Dr. King realized that democratic socialism was the way to make sure blacks got their equal rights, number one, and still deal with the poor peoples of America. And don't you realize that the moment Dr. King began to tell white leaders that was part of the Poor People campaign that he's going to start doing a little more, and that he's not going to continue to put all his energy in that, even though you think he did? Dr. King made the decision that he was going to start putting a lot of energy in black empowerment, and black empowerment first. I'll come back to the Poor People's Campaign later. And even though he continued with his particular schedule concerning the Poor People's Campaign, he still had plans for a new wave, a new drive for black empowerment, and that's why he got Kwame on his team. John Lewis ain't had that. Bill Clinton. And don't get me on the politicization that Barack Obama did to try to drive people to go vote against Trump. And look, I'm voting against Trump. Unsubscribe. Dude, you know I don't vote for bigot, pathological lying, racist, with rape allegations, whether green, blue, white, or red. So I'm writing in Darius Hunter, whether you like it or not. If I decide to write in Darius Hunter, I might not vote at all. See, I'm very strong on this black agenda, no vote. No support for reparation with a cash payment, which Dr. King was for. He was more for his people getting his money than universal basic income. The universal basic income was part of the Poor People's Campaign. But don't you dare think that if we did get universal basic income, he wasn't going to cape hard for his black people for their full equal rights, including economics. The same medium wealth whites, the native blacks in this country that came here through chattel slavery should be the same. And that's why people coming in this country post the Immigration Act, and even before the Immigration Act, shouldn't be able to have access to the same economic. Post, different story. Post Jim Crow, different story. But the amount of wealth that white American made off the back of black peoples, that money need to be taken and shared with blacks that came here to this country. I'm not talking about Nigerians. I'm not talking about people from Uganda. I'm not talking about people from Jamaica. I'm not talking about that. Jamaica did their thing to get their rights with their country. Haiti did their thing with their slave masters in their country. They overturned it, killed a bunch of it, and took over the country. America didn't like that. America was going to make sure that didn't happen to us, so we're going to kill you before you kill us. And boy, did they do that. Man, the black Holocaust, the black genocide that was going on in America. Let me get to one more video of the professor. Give me a moment.
The only question would be, what kind of change do we want? I think everybody would be for that society. The question is whether or not it could come about under the present system of this government, or whether that system must be changed. I, for one, believe that it cannot come about under the present system, a capitalist system. That system must be changed. I believe that. Many of us would support capitalism because we actually believe that in a capitalist system, there's a chance for us to get the same amount of money as Rockefeller gets, because we're told that under capitalism there is equality of opportunity, so that we feel that if this year we didn't make as much as a Rockefeller made, then we got to work a little bit harder, and next year we're going to make it. But if we carefully examine a capitalist system, we will see that it's based on exploitation, because the viciousness of capitalism, and the reason why once black people examine it, we can never be for it, is that under a capitalist system, the fruits of those who labor are enjoyed by somebody else. That is, those who do the laboring, the fruits of their labor, they don't enjoy it. As a matter of fact, we could say under capitalism that the fruits of the labor of the toiling masses are enjoyed by those who do not labor. And again, as black people, we have clear examples of it. If we were to get the fruits of our labor from slavery, just from slavery, all we got to do is go to Nixon and say, hey, look, you give us the fruits of our labor from slavery and we forget the score. We would be the richest people in the country, again, because under capitalism, the individual exploits the labor of the people.
So
And I say there were 2 or 3 years there where the movement went a little bit too far toward Stokely, but in the end, John Lewis prevailed.
I'm just a talking And y'all not hearing me. This live thing, man. This live thing. All right, so this is what I was saying. Why did Dr. King decide to go with Carmichael instead of John Lewis? Because Dr. King had a more aggressive mission after the March on Washington. And sure, he decided to lead the Poor People's Campaign. But in the middle of the Poor People's Campaign, Dr. King said, I need to develop a new campaign. And that campaign was to bring equal rights to my people. It had nothing to do with immigration. Nothing. You can't tack immigration to this. Everybody can't get on this particular. Everybody can participate in this, but the rewards of that have to go to this. So even though Dr. King wanted UBI for everybody, even though Dr. King wanted to have everybody to be treated equal and treated the same, it was not the same when it came to black people because he knew he had another mission. That next march will be to get our check. And when he say our, he didn't mean everybody. He meant black people. He meant the black people who lineage goes all the way back to the roots of slavery in this country, not in Jamaica, not in the West Indies, America. He said, it's a shame. This country has done so much for everybody else and have not given my people their just due reward. And the next time we're coming to Washington, D.C., we're coming for our check. And that's what got him killed. It wasn't the Poor People's Campaign. It was that. Yes, he was in the middle he was in the activation of the Poor People Campaign, working with trade unions and working with different organizations, socialist, communist, even Democratic. He was working with everybody on that. But that was a separate campaign. The campaign, his next phase, he was already in that. He was already in the motion of that. But the moment he made those statements that he's going to start going for the equality of his people, I want my people to put themselves up by their bootstraps too. And we would, but we ain't got no boots or straps to pull up. You go back to that NBC interview, he talked about his people getting their true equality. And especially economically. And until that happens, black people never got their full equal rights. We may got civil rights. Yeah, I can go pee where you pee. I can pee right next to you. We can eat at the same table. I can go to the same lunch counter. Civil rights. That's city, local ordinance and things like that. But equal rights, money, power, land, all that stuff. That's what Dr. King was going for. And that's what got him killed. It happened that he got killed during the Poor People's Campaign because they weren't going to allow him to get that other campaign started. But the reason he leaned it over to Carmichael is called Carmichael, as you can see, had the juice and the knowledge and the power and the ability to organize people to push that movement. And now after they killed Dr. King, Carmichael said, look, I'm going to have to do this myself. So Carmichael decided to develop organizations himself. And one of the main organizations that came out of the spirit of Carmichael was the Black Panther Party. So no, Bubba. Shut your mouth, Bubba. We see John Lewis as the hero before he went to Congress. But once he got to Congress, we really see who he was. He was a lapdog for the Democratic Party, God rest his soul, but he was. He was a lapdog to the Democratic Party, and he was used as a token for blackness while y'all got y'all agenda done with his face in the front of it. It has nothing to do with black empowerment because y'all never allowed him the opportunity to push black empowerment. So how in the hell you going to say at the end of the day, he won? Nope. This generation right now is a Stokely generation. It's a Kwame generation. And we will win. We haven't won all the way yet, but we're on the march to win because we're not stopping this thing until we get our reparations, until we get a black agenda, until we fully become equal with white society in America in everything. And then after we're done with that, we're going and bringing the people. See, the thing should have been done. This is how it should have been done. Equal rights campaign, not civil rights. Equal rights campaign, then the Poor People's Campaign. Dr. King went with the Poor People's Campaign, and then in the middle of the Poor People Campaign, he realized, And I should have been pushing this equal right because my people not getting what they really need to get. And they getting whooped upside the head as a result of it. And in the middle of the poor people's campaign, and he was for old people and poor people, the moment he started mentioning that he's going to start going to get his check for his people, that's when they took him out. And again, Stokely Carmichael is a great American hero, a great black American hero. He is our icon. He is our leader. So you don't determine white America. You don't determine politics or anybody. You don't determine who will be the icon of the black people or this generation. This generation has woken up to who Malcolm X really is. They woke up to who Stokely Carmichael was and a whole host of people. I can go down the list. We realized that we had a huge army of black people willing to fight and die on the sword for the sake and the cause of black empowerment. But you killed them before they even got a chance to do it. Why? Because you're scared. Don't you dare think that's not going to happen again. There's something happening right now. Black Lives Matter, the movement has nothing to do with it. There's another movement that's brewing that's going to shock the system. And they're not stopping until they get what they want. And you're going to find out. You think black people going to be on your side when it comes to you voting, getting into office? I'm talking to every Democrat, every Republican, anybody that's running for office. If you think black people just going to automatically support you because of John Lewis, Obama, and because of how great you talked about John Lewis and how you turned that whole freaking funeral into a political campaign to get out the vote. How horrible can you be? How disgusting can you be? And look, if John Lewis probably would have approved it because that's just who John Lewis was. Okay, boss. Let's do it. You can use my funeral to get out the vote because, voting rights, activists and all that. Use it. Get out and vote for what? John Lewis, what did you put in that last letter in that media publication that's pushing for black empowerment? Because Stokely Carmichael, everything he did was to push black empowerment. I'm done, guys. I'm done. There's a bubble. Now I'm going to talk later about Obama and his quest to get attention and using a black talk at a funeral to make black people feel good. Had somebody say, man, boy, I sure miss Obama. I'm like, what do you miss about him? Oh, you miss the good-looking man in the good-looking suit, slim, nice salt and pepper, great perpendicular voice. You miss that, Obama? John Lewis, I don't miss that guy. I don't. Look, I don't like Trump. I hate it, but not to the point where I miss Obama. It ain't about missing. It's about dissing. Obama dissed the black community. He even got vocal about dissing the black community. He never got vocal about the gay community, dissed the gay community or the Latino community. He dissed the black community. He felt like he could because he's half black. But bro, you ain't got no right to be dissing the American black community, because the American black community went through hell and high water that your lineage never went through. So the hell with you. Now, I told you I was going to cuss a little bit. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm sorry. The nerves of Obama want to politicize that event to try to get out the vote. You ain't getting my vote. I'm telling you now, you can get John Lewis. John Lewis can raise from the dead and start doing the Michael Jackson. Ain't getting my vote, not one iota. No black agenda, no vote. Besides, I don't support bigots, racists, rapists that are pathological liars. And the two guys that's running, Joe Biden and Donald Trump, are just that. And ain't no way in hell I'm voting for him. Ain't no fear-mongering gonna get me to vote for either one of these fools. I remember Nina Turner said, vote for Joe Biden is like eating a half a bowl of SHT sandwich. I ain't eating no SHT sandwiches. I'm just not. Then I hear people, we got to vote for the lesser two evils. A bunch of Christians at that. Christians, your job is to dismiss evil, period, right? Lesser or good, your job is to dismiss it, to come against it, to attack it, right? Hypocrites, man. I'm Robert Brown with the Rob Report. I'll holler at you later, man. Boy. Boy. Peace.